Maddie's knees hit the frozen ground. The vegetables scattered across the snow like broken dreams. Laughter exploded around her, cruel, sharp, unending. Her mother's voice cut through the cold. "Get up, you useless cow. The sheriff's called every girl. Even you." Even you. The words burned worse than the ice biting her palms. In 2 hours, she'd stand before the entire town, while men chose wives like cattle. And she already knew no one would choose her. But before we see what happens in that square, subscribe to Ironwood Narratives and stay until the end. Comment below what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Maddie's story travels. Silver Ridge, Colorado, February 1876. The cold didn't care that Maddie Brennan's boots had holes in them. It crawled through the worn leather bit at her toes, turned her feet to stone as she stumbled down the alley behind her stepfather's store. Her breath came in ragged clouds. Her arms ached from carrying firewood since dawn. "Maddie Louise." Silas's voice cracked like a whip. She flinched, nearly dropped the last log. Her stepfather filled the doorway, his face red despite the freezing air. "You deaf girl, I've been calling you 10 minutes. I'm sorry I was... Don't care what you was doing." He spat into the snow. "Sheriff's got news. Every unmarried woman in Silver Ridge got a report to the square by noon." Maddie's stomach dropped. "What for?" Silas's lip curled. "Bride gathering. Town's got 3 men for every woman. Sheriff Hartwell says it ain't natural. Says we need families or this place'll dry up like the mines." "But You'll go." "Nobody'll want..." "I said you'll go." His eyes narrowed. "You think I want folks saying I kept my stepdaughter locked away 'cause she's too ugly to show? You'll stand there with the rest. Maybe some desperate fool'll take you off my hands." The words landed like fists. Maddie's throat closed up. She nodded once quick before the tears could come. Silas grunted. "Get inside. Your mama's got a dress for you. And for God's sake, try to look like a woman instead of a barn animal." He slammed the door. Maddie stood alone in the alley, the last log clutched against her chest. The cold wind screamed down from the mountains, carrying snow that stung her cheeks. "Nobody'll want you." She'd heard it 1,000 times. From Silas. From the town women. From her own mother, who'd stopped looking at her years ago. Maddie set the log down carefully. Her hands shook. Not from cold. A small whimper made her turn. Behind the store, half buried in snow near the trash heap, a dog lay curled tight. Ribs showed through matted fur. One back leg was twisted wrong. Maddie forgot the cold. She forgot Silas. She dropped to her knees beside the dog. "Hey there," she whispered. "Hey, it's all right." The dog's eyes opened brown, frightened, full of pain. "I know," Maddie said softly. "I know it hurts." She pulled off her shawl, the only warm thing she owned, and wrapped it around the shaking animal. The dog whined, but didn't snap. Didn't fight. "Nobody wants you either, huh?" Maddie lifted the dog as gently as she could. It wasn't heavy, barely anything left of it. She carried it to the lean-to behind the blacksmith shop where she used to work with her father. The forge was cold now, had been for years. But there were old blankets back here, a corner where wind didn't reach. She settled the dog down, tucked the blankets close. "I'll bring you food," she promised. "Soon as I can." The dog's tail thumped once. Weak but there. Maddie's chest ached. This animal, broken, abandoned, half dead, trusted her, believed her. When was the last time anything had looked at her that way? Maddie Louise Brennan. Her mother's shriek split the air. Maddie ran. Inside the store, her mother waited with a dress draped over her arm. Dark blue, simple, the nicest thing Maddie had seen in years. Her mother's face was tight. "Where's your shawl?" "I lost it." "Lost it." Her mother's voice went flat. "The only decent thing you own, and you lost it." "I'm sorry, Mama." Sorry, don't keep you warm. Her mother shook the dress. Put this on, and pin your hair proper. You're already a disgrace, don't make it worse. Maddie took the dress with numb fingers. It was soft, clean. Someone had taken care with it once. Whose was this? Mine. Her mother turned away. From before I had you. Before everything went wrong. The words sat heavy in the room. Maddie slipped behind the curtain and pulled off her work dress. The blue one slid over her head, and immediately she knew. Too tight across the shoulders. Too short in the arms. The fabric pulled at her waist, strained at the seams. She looked like a sausage stuffed in casing. Well, her mother called. Maddie stepped out. Her mother's face did something complicated. For just a second, Maddie thought she saw sadness there. Something almost like regret. Then it hardened. It'll have to do. Her mother's hands worked fast, pinning Maddie's hair into a tight bun. Listen to me. You stand straight. You keep your mouth shut. You don't cry. You don't make a scene. You let the other girls get chosen first, and then you come home. Understand? Yes, Mama. This ain't about you finding a husband, Maddie. This is about me not being shamed. Her mother's fingers dug into Maddie's shoulders. You remember that. The walk to the square was the longest of Maddie's life. Snow fell steady now, coating everything in white. Pretty if you didn't have to walk through it. Maddie's thin boots soaked through in minutes. Her toes went numb. Other families moved toward the square too. Mothers fussed over daughters in clean dresses and ribbon-tied hair. Fathers walked proud chests, out ready to see their girls married off to good men. Nobody walked with Maddie, except her mother, 10 steps ahead, pretending they weren't together. There she goes. The whisper came from the right. 2 women stood outside the dress shop, arms crossed. Silas really making her go? Poor girl, ain't no man desperate enough. Shh, she'll hear. But Maddie had already heard. She kept walking, kept her eyes on the ground, on her wet boots, on the snow that kept falling like it wanted to bury everything. The square opened up ahead. A crowd already gathered 50 people, maybe more. A wooden platform had been built in the center. Girls lined up on it, 14 or 15 of them, all in their best dresses. All pretty. All scared, but hopeful. Maddie's stomach turned over. Get up there, her mother hissed. Mama, please. Now. Maddie climbed the steps. Her dress caught on a nail. Someone laughed. She jerked it free and took her place at the end of the line, as far from the others as she could get. The girl beside her, small blonde, maybe 17, glanced over. Her nose wrinkled. She shifted away. Maddie's face burned. The crowd grew louder. Men gathered at the front, looking the girls over like horses at auction. Women clustered in groups, whispering behind their hands. Sheriff Hartwell climbed onto the platform, tall, gray-haired, jaw like granite. He raised one hand and the square fell silent. Folks of Silver Ridge, his voice boomed. We got a problem. This town's dying. Mines are near empty. Families are leaving. We got 80 men and 20 women, and that ain't a town, that's a camp. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. So here's what's gonna happen. Hartwell pointed at the line of girls. Every unmarried woman stands here today. Every able man steps forward and chooses a wife. No exceptions, no delays. We do this now, or we watch Silver Ridge turn to dust. A few cheers went up. Some of the girls smiled nervously. Others looked terrified. Maddie just wanted to disappear. Now, Hartwell continued, we do this proper. Strongest men choose first. Sets the example. His eyes scanned the crowd. Elijah Stone, get up here. The crowd parted. A man stepped forward, and Maddie's breath caught. He was tall, taller than Hartwell, taller than any man she'd seen. Broad-shouldered under a long duster coat. Dark hair fell past his collar. A scar cut down his jaw, pale against sun-darkened skin. But it was his eyes that made her stare. Hard, cold, empty. War eyes, the kind that had seen too much and stopped caring. Elijah Stone climbed the platform slow. His boots thudded against the wood. He stood beside Hartwell and said nothing. Just looked out at the crowd with those dead eyes. "Eli here fought for the Union," Hartwell announced. "Came back decorated, bought land outside town, works harder than 3 men combined." He clapped Eli on the shoulder. "He'll pick first." Eli's jaw tightened. "Go on, son. Choose your bride." "I didn't come here for this." His voice was low, rough, like he didn't use it much. Hartwell's smile faded. "Excuse me. I said I didn't come here for this." Eli's eyes swept the girls. "I came for supplies. You ambushed me." "This ain't an ambush, it's duty." "I don't owe this town a wife." Gasps rippled through the square. The girls on the platform shifted nervously. Maddie kept her eyes down, heart hammering. Hartwell stepped closer. "You owe this town everything. We gave you land, gave you credit at the store, gave you a place when you came back from that war with nothing. I paid for that land. I pay my debts." Eli's voice stayed level. "But I don't pay with a woman. You'll do your part like every other man here." "No." The word hung in the frozen air. Hartwell's face went red. "You think you're special. You think 'cause you got a scar and a sad story, you can spit on our laws." "I think," Eli said quietly, "you can't force a man to marry." "Can't I?" Hartwell's hand dropped to the gun at his hip. Not a threat, not quite. Just a reminder. "You refuse me here in front of everyone, you're saying this town don't matter. You're saying these women don't matter. That ain't what I'm saying." "Then what are you saying?" Silence. The snow fell heavier now. Maddie watched flakes land on Eli's shoulders, melt into the dark fabric of his coat. Hartwell pressed harder. "See that girl at the end?" "Oh no. Oh God, no." Hartwell pointed straight at Maddie. Every eye in the square turned. 50 people staring at her all at once. Maddie's lungs forgot how to work. "Even she," Hartwell said, voice dripping with something ugly. "Even she got the courage to stand up here. She knows no man'll pick her. She knows she'll go home alone, but she's doing her duty." Laughter erupted, sharp, cruel, familiar. "Look at her, fat as a Christmas goose. Probably break the marriage bed." The voices blurred together. Maddie's vision swam, her hands curled into fists at her sides. "Don't cry. Don't you dare cry." Hartwell turned back to Eli. "So what's your excuse, Stone? You too proud, too broken. You got no reason that girl don't got 10 times over." Eli's eyes finally moved, locked onto Maddie. She couldn't meet his gaze, couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the roaring in her ears. "Please, just end this, please." "Well," Hartwell demanded, "you gonna stand there and shame this town, shame these women, or you gonna be a man?" The silence stretched so long, Maddie thought she'd scream. Then Eli spoke. "Her." The square froze. "What?" Hartwell blinked. Eli's eyes never left Maddie. "I choose her." The world exploded. Laughter loud, vicious, disbelieving. Men doubled over. Women shrieked with glee. Even some of the girls on the platform giggled behind their hands. "Her? He's joking. Has to be joking. Out of all these pretty girls he picks that—" Maddie's knees shook. Her vision tunneled. This was worse than being unchosen. This was being chosen as a joke. Being made the spectacle. The punchline. But Eli didn't laugh. He stepped forward, reached out one calloused hand. "Miss," he said quietly, "come here." Maddie couldn't move. Her feet were frozen to the platform. "Miss," Eli said again, softer. "Please." Something in his voice broke through the panic. Maddie's legs remembered how to work. She stumbled forward, nearly tripped. Eli's hand caught her elbow, steadied her. His hand was warm, solid, real. "You sure about this?" Hartwell looked between them, half amused, half annoyed. "I'm sure." "You know what you're getting." Eli's jaw tightened. "I know what I'm getting. A woman with more courage than this whole town combined." The laughter died. Hartwell stared. "You've lost your mind." "Maybe." Eli's hand stayed on Maddie's elbow. "Or maybe I'm the only one here who sees straight." He turned to Maddie. His eyes, those war-hard, empty eyes, looked at her like she was a person. Not a joke. Not a burden. A person. "What's your name?" he asked. Her voice came out strangled. "Maddie. Maddie Brennan." "Elijah Stone." He nodded once. "You willing?" "Willing." She didn't understand. "To marry me. Here. Now." His voice dropped lower. "I won't hurt you. Won't shame you. But if you say no, I'll walk away. Leave you be." Maddie's mind spun. This was insane. This was a nightmare. This had to be some cruel trick. But his hand on her elbow was gentle. His eyes were steady. And God help her, standing here beside him was the first time in her life someone had made her feel like she wasn't alone. "Yes," she whispered. Eli nodded, turned back to Hartwell. "We're agreed. Get the Reverend." Hartwell's mouth opened, closed. He looked at the crowd, still laughing, still jeering, then back at Eli and Maddie. "Your funeral," he muttered. He stomped off toward the church. The crowd pressed closer, shouting questions, making jokes. The girls on the platform whispered among themselves. Maddie stood frozen beside Eli, her heart trying to break out of her chest. "Don't listen to them," Eli said, so quiet only she could hear. "How can I not practice?" His thumb brushed her elbow just once. "I've had years." Reverend Crane arrived 5 minutes later, clutching his Bible like a shield. He climbed onto the platform, looked at Maddie and Eli, then at Hartwell. "This official?" "It's official," Hartwell growled. Crane opened his Bible. "Dearly beloved, the short version," Eli interrupted. Crane blinked. "Right, short." He cleared his throat. "Elijah Stone, do you take this woman as your lawful wife?" "I do." "Maddie Brennan, do you take this man as your lawful husband?" Maddie's voice cracked. "I do." "By the power vested in me by the territory of Colorado, I pronounce you man and wife." Crane snapped the Bible shut. "God have mercy on you both." Hartwell stepped forward. "It's done. Witnessed by the whole town." He looked at Eli. "Don't come crying to me when you regret it." Eli's hand moved from Maddie's elbow to her hand. His fingers laced through hers, rough, warm, strong. "I won't," he said. He led her down the platform steps. The crowd parted, laughing, pointing, whispering. Maddie kept her eyes on the ground, on Eli's boots cutting through the snow ahead of hers. They walked through the square. Past her mother, whose face was buried in her hands. Past Silas, who wouldn't look at her. Past the women who'd called her worthless, and the men who'd called her a joke. Eli didn't stop. Didn't speak. Just walked steady, hand tight around hers, pulling her away from that place. Away from everything she'd ever known. At the edge of town, a horse waited, a big gray gelding. Eli stopped beside it. "You ever ride?" he asked. Maddie shook her head. "All right." He swung up into the saddle, then reached down. "Give me your hand." She did. He pulled her up behind him like she weighed nothing. Maddie grabbed his coat to keep from falling. "Hold on," he said. Then they were moving. Fast. The town disappeared behind them. The snow came down harder, turning the world white. Maddie pressed her face against Eli's back and finally let herself cry. He didn't say anything, didn't slow down, just rode through the storm like he was running from something too. Maybe he was. Maybe they both were. The ranch appeared through the snow like a ghost. A small cabin, a barn fences half buried in drifts. Eli reined in the horse and dismounted. He reached up for Maddie. She slid down. Her legs nearly gave out. Eli caught her. "Cold?" he asked. She nodded, couldn't speak past the shaking. "Come on." He led her inside. The cabin was small, one room, a fireplace, a bed in the corner. Simple, clean, empty. Eli moved around, lighting lamps. The fire was already laid. He struck a match, and flames jumped up, pushing back the shadows. Maddie stood in the middle of the room, dripping snow, shaking lost. Eli finally turned to her, studied her face. "You hungry?" She shook her head. "Tired." Another shake. "Scared." This time she nodded. Eli exhaled slow. "Yeah, I figured." He pointed to a chair by the fire. "Sit. Warm up." Maddie sat. Her wet dress clung to her like ice. Eli disappeared into the back corner, returned with a blanket. He draped it over her shoulders. "I'll sleep in the barn tonight," he said. "Give you space." "Why?" The word burst out before she could stop it. Eli paused. "Why what? Why did you choose me?" His face went blank. "Does it matter?" "Yes." Maddie's voice cracked. "Everyone thinks you did it as a joke. Everyone thinks you're crazy or drunk or—" "I wasn't joking." "Then why?" Eli stared at the fire. The flames threw shadows across his scarred face. "This morning," he said quietly. "I was at the livery, getting my horse shod. There was a commotion outside. I looked out the window." Maddie's stomach dropped. "I saw you," Eli continued. "In the alley behind the blacksmith shop. You were carrying a dog. Half-dead thing. You wrapped it in your shawl, your only shawl from what I could tell. You settled it somewhere safe. You promised it food." He turned to face her. "Then your mama screamed for you, and you ran. Ran like you were used to it. Like you'd been running your whole life." Maddie couldn't breathe. "In that square," Eli said. "Hartwell pointed at you and they laughed. All of them. Like you were nothing." His jaw tightened. "I've been nothing. I know what it looks like. And I know what it takes to stand there anyway." "So you felt sorry for me?" Bitterness leaked into Maddie's voice. "No." Eli's eyes locked on hers. "I felt respect." The word hung between them. "I spent 4 years in a war," Eli said. "I saw men who looked brave crumble when things got hard. I saw men who looked weak hold the line when everyone else ran." He paused. "You stood on that platform knowing what would happen. You did it anyway. That ain't weakness, miss. That's strength." Maddie's eyes burned. "They called me fat, ugly, a burden. They called me a killer, a monster, a man too broken to be around decent people." Eli's voice stayed level. "Words only have the power we give them." "Easy for you to say. You're strong. You're—" She gestured helplessly at him. "You're everything I'm not. You think I'm strong." Eli let out a bitter laugh. "I came back from that war with nothing. No family. No purpose. No reason to wake up except I was too stubborn to die." He looked away. "I spent 2 years barely talking to anyone, working myself dead so I wouldn't have to think. And you know what I learned?" Maddie shook her head. "Strength ain't about how much you can lift or how fast you can shoot. It's about getting back up when everything inside you says stay down." His eyes found hers again. "You got that. I saw it this morning. I saw it in that square. You don't know me." "No," Eli agreed. "But I know courage when I see it." Silence filled the cabin. The fire crackled. Outside the wind howled. Maddie pulled the blanket tighter. "What happens now?" "Now." Eli moved toward the door. "Now you sleep. Get warm. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. Where will you be? Barn, like I said. You don't have to. Yes, he interrupted gently. I do. You're my wife on paper, but you ain't my prisoner. You need time, space. I'll give you both. He reached for the door handle. Elijah. He stopped. Thank you, Maddie whispered. For not laughing. His shoulders tensed. For a long moment he stood there back to her. Then so quiet she almost missed it. Thank you for saying yes. The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Eli stepped out into the snow and was gone. Maddie sat alone by the fire, wrapped in a stranger's blanket, in a stranger's house, married to a man who'd seen something in her no one else ever had. And for the first time in her life, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, he might be right. Maddie woke to silence. The kind of silence that pressed against her ears, heavy and absolute. No footsteps above her head, no Silas yelling, no mother's bitter voice cutting through the walls, just quiet. She opened her eyes. Sunlight streamed through a window she didn't recognize. A quilt she'd never seen covered her body. The smell of wood smoke and coffee hung in the air. For 3 heartbeats, she didn't remember. Then it hit her. The square. The laughter. Eli's hand pulling her up behind him on that horse. His voice saying words that couldn't possibly be real. I choose her. Maddie sat up too fast. The room spun. She pressed her hands to her face, felt the dried salt of yesterday's tears on her cheeks. This was real. This was happening. She was married to a stranger who'd seen her wrap a dying dog in her only shawl and decided that made her worth choosing. The door creaked. Maddie's head snapped up. Eli stood in the doorway, snow dusting his shoulders. He held a tin cup in one hand. Didn't mean to wake you, he said. You didn't. I just... She swallowed hard. What time is it? Near noon. Noon. She'd slept half the day. Maddie threw off the quilt, shame flooding through her. I'm sorry. I should have been up hours ago. I should have... You should have rested. Eli stepped inside, set the cup on the small table by the bed. Coffee. It ain't fancy, but it's hot. Maddie stared at the cup, at him. You made me coffee? You want it or not? She reached for it with shaking hands. The tin was warm against her palms. She took a sip. It was bitter, strong, perfect. Thank you. Eli nodded once. He moved to the fireplace, added another log. His movements were careful, deliberate, like he was trying not to spook a wild animal. Maybe that's what she was. I checked on your dog, he said without turning around. Maddie's heart jumped. My dog. The one you wrapped in your shawl. I went back to town at first light. Found it where you left it. He straightened, finally looked at her. Brought it here. It's in the barn. You... Maddie's throat closed up. You brought it here. Figured you'd want to know it was alive. She set the coffee down before she dropped it. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Why would you do that? Eli's brow furrowed. You wanted it safe, so I made it safe. But you don't even know me. I know you cared about a dying dog more than your own comfort. He crossed his arms. That tells me enough. Maddie's eyes burned. She looked away fast, blinking hard. Can I see it? After you eat. I'm not hungry. You will be. Eli moved to the stove, pulled out a pan. I made biscuits this morning. They're probably hard as rocks by now, but they'll fill you up. You cook? Had to learn. Army food'll kill you slower than bullets if you ain't careful. He set 2 biscuits on a plate, added a spoonful of something that might have been jam. Eat, then we'll see the dog. Maddie took the plate. The biscuits were hard, just like he'd said, but they were warm. And someone, this man, this stranger, had made them for her. She ate without tasting anything. Her mind spun too fast. Eli poured himself coffee, stood by the window. The silence stretched. Not comfortable, but not cruel either. Just two people existing in the same space, trying to figure out what came next. Maddie finished the last bite and stood. "I'm ready." Eli turned. His eyes swept over her, quick, assessing, not lingering. "You need warmer clothes. That dress won't keep you alive out here." "It's all I have." Something flickered across his face. "All right. Wait here." He disappeared into the back corner again. Maddie heard the scrape of a trunk opening. When he returned, he carried a bundle of dark fabric. "My wife's," he said quietly, "from before." The words landed heavy. Maddie's stomach twisted. "You were married?" "Yeah." "What happened to her?" Eli's jaw tightened. "She died." The flatness in his voice told Maddie everything. This was a wound that hadn't healed. Maybe never would. "I can't wear her clothes," Maddie whispered. "Why not? It's—" She struggled for words. "It's disrespectful." "She's gone." Eli held out the bundle. "You're here, and you'll freeze in that dress. Sarah would have wanted them used." He paused. "She was kind like that." Maddie took the clothes carefully. A wool skirt, a thick blouse, a coat lined with fur. They smelled like cedar and thyme. "Thank you," she managed. Eli nodded and turned his back. "Change. I'll wait outside." The door closed behind him. Maddie stood alone with a dead woman's clothes in her arms and a living man's trust on her shoulders. She changed quickly. The skirt was too long. The blouse pulled tight across her chest. But they were warm. Warmer than anything she'd owned in years. When she opened the door, Eli was leaning against the porch rail, staring out at the snow-covered fields. "They fit?" he asked without looking. "Near enough." "Good." He straightened. "Come on." They walked to the barn through snow that came up past Maddie's ankles. Her feet were already cold again. Sarah's boots must have been smaller. But she didn't complain. Wouldn't. Inside the barn, the air was warmer. Horses shifted in their stalls. The smell of hay and animals wrapped around them. Eli led her to the back corner. There, curled in a nest of blankets, lay the dog. Maddie's breath caught. Its eyes were open. Clear. The leg was splinted and wrapped. A bowl of water sat nearby, half empty. "You set the bone," she whispered. "Did my best. Had practice during the war." Eli crouched down, ran a careful hand over the dog's head. "He's got fight in him. Might pull through." Maddie knelt beside him. The dog's tail thumped once when she reached out. Her fingers brushed its matted fur. "Hey there," she murmured. "Look at you. Still here." The dog's tongue licked her hand, weak but present. Maddie's vision blurred. She pressed her hand over her mouth, trying to hold back the sob building in her chest. "He needed help," Eli said quietly. "You gave it. That matters. In town they would have kicked him, called him a nuisance, left him to die." "I know." "But you didn't." "No." Eli stood. "And neither did you." Maddie looked up at him. Snow from the open barn door caught in the light, turning the air silver. Eli's scarred face was softer than yesterday. Tired, maybe, or just less guarded. "Why are you being kind to me?" she asked. Eli's eyes held hers. "Why wouldn't I be? Because I'm—" She gestured at herself helplessly. "Because everyone else? I ain't everyone else." The words were simple, final. Maddie stood slowly. Her legs shook. "I don't understand you." "Don't have to. Not yet." Eli moved toward the barn door. "You want to help with chores?" "You want me to help?" "You're here. Might as well be useful." He paused. "Unless you'd rather sit inside." Maddie thought about the empty cabin, the silence, the weight of being alone with her thoughts. "I'll help." Something that might have been approval crossed Eli's face. All right then, let's start with the chickens. The afternoon passed in a blur of work. Eli showed her how to scatter feed so the hens didn't fight, how to collect eggs without getting pecked, how to pump water from the well without breaking the handle. He was patient. When she spilled grain, he just handed her more. When she dropped an egg, he shrugged and said, "Chickens'll lay more tomorrow." No anger, no blame. Just quiet instruction and steady hands catching her when she slipped on ice. By the time the sun started dropping, Maddie's arms ached and her fingers were numb. But something inside her chest felt looser, lighter. They went inside as dusk turned the snow blue. Eli started a fire while Maddie stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, unsure what to do with herself. "You know how to cook?" Eli asked. "Some. My father taught me before." She stopped. "Before what?" "Before he died." The words came out flat. "I was 16. After that, Mama married Silas, and I wasn't allowed near the stove much. He said I'd eat all the food." Eli's expression darkened. "He said that." "He said a lot of things." "I bet he did." Eli pulled out a pot, filled it with water. "Well, you're allowed here, and we need to eat." Maddie moved closer. "What are we making?" "Stew, nothing fancy." He gestured at the vegetables on the counter. "You chop. I'll handle the rest." They worked side by side. Eli's instructions were clear, simple. Maddie's hands remembered things she'd forgotten: how to hold a knife, how to cut carrots into even pieces, how to move around another person in a small space without getting in the way. "Your father taught you to cook?" Eli asked after a while. "And Smith. He had a forge in town, made horseshoes, tools, nails." Maddie's chest tightened. "He let me work the bellows when I was little. Later he taught me to hammer." "You miss it?" "Every day." She finished the last carrot, set down the knife. "After he died, Silas sold the forge. Said a girl had no business doing men's work." Eli's hands stilled. "That why you know how to set a dog's bone?" Maddie blinked. "How did you—" "I saw the splint. It's good work. Real good. Better than mine would have been." Heat crept up her neck. "Papa taught me. Said injuries don't wait for a doctor." Smart man. He was. Maddie's voice cracked. "He's the only person who ever thought I was worth teaching." Eli turned to face her full on. "Then your stepfather's a fool." "Maybe. But he's right about one thing." Maddie forced herself to meet Eli's eyes. I'm not what men want. I'm too big, too plain, too—" "Stop." The command was quiet but absolute. Maddie's mouth snapped shut. "You want to know what I see when I look at you?" Eli asked. Maddie shook her head. She didn't want to hear the pity, the kind lie. "I see someone who survived." Eli's voice stayed level. "I see someone who got told every day she was nothing and still got up, still took care of dying animals, still stood in that square when it would have been easier to run. That's not strength. That's everything." Eli stepped closer, not crowding, just closing the distance. "I've been to war, Maddie. I've seen men crack under less than what you've lived through, and you're still standing, still kind. Still got hope buried somewhere inside, even when you shouldn't." Maddie's eyes burned. "You don't know that." "Yeah, I do." His hand moved, slow, careful, telegraphing the motion, and settled on her shoulder. "Because if you didn't have hope, you wouldn't have said yes yesterday." The touch was warm, solid, real. Maddie's breath shuddered. "I don't know how to be a wife," she whispered. "I don't know how to be a husband." "Not anymore." Eli's thumb brushed her shoulder, once gentle. "But maybe we don't gotta be what everyone says. Maybe we just gotta be two people trying to survive winter. That's all. For now." His hand dropped away. "Rest comes later, if it comes at all." Maddie nodded. Her throat was too tight to speak. Eli turned back to the stew, stirred it once. "This'll be ready soon. You want to set the table?" Such a simple thing, such a normal request. Maddie moved on, shaking legs, found 2 bowls, 2 spoons, laid them out carefully. When the stew was done, they sat across from each other at the small table, ate in silence. The food was plain but hot, filling. Maddie watched Eli between bites. Watched the way he ate, slow, methodical, like he'd learned not to rush. Watched the way his eyes drifted to the window every few minutes, checking the darkness beyond. "You expecting trouble?" she asked. Eli's gaze snapped back to her. "Old habit. War teaches you the night's never empty. Does it get easier?" "No." The word was blunt, honest. "But you get better at living with it." Maddie set down her spoon. "What happened to your wife?" The question hung between them. Eli's jaw worked. For a long moment, Maddie thought he wouldn't answer. Then quietly, "She died giving birth. The baby too." "Oh, God." "I'm sorry," Maddie breathed. "Yeah, me too." Eli stood abruptly, carried his bowl to the wash basin. "It was 3 years ago. Should be over it by now." "That's not how grief works." "You an expert." "My father died 12 years ago. I still miss him every day." Maddie's hands twisted in her lap. "Some wounds don't close. They just stop bleeding as much." Eli's shoulders tensed. He stood there, back to her hands braced on the counter. "Sarah was good," he said finally. "Sweet, gentle, everything people say a woman should be." His voice went rough. "But she wasn't strong, couldn't stand up for herself. Let people walk over her. I thought—" He stopped. "You thought what?" "I thought I could protect her, keep her safe from everything." Eli turned around. His eyes were haunted. "But I couldn't protect her from her own body. Couldn't stop the bleeding. Couldn't save either of them." Maddie stood, crossed the room, stopped just out of reach. "That wasn't your fault." "Feels like it was." "Feelings lie sometimes." Eli's laugh was bitter. "You sound like the chaplain. He said the same thing after I came back." "Is that why you choose me?" The question burst out before Maddie could stop it. "Because I'm not like her. Because you think I'm strong enough to survive whatever." "No." Eli's eyes locked on hers. "I chose you because when Hartwell pointed at you and they laughed, you didn't run. You didn't cry. You just stood there and took it." His voice dropped. "And I thought, if I'm going to be forced into this, might as well pick someone who won't break." The words should have hurt, should have felt like another insult. But they didn't, because Maddie understood. This wasn't about love. Wasn't about romance or fairy tales. This was about 2 broken people trying to survive a system that didn't care about them. "I won't break," she said quietly. "I know. But I will need help. I don't know how to do any of this. The ranch, the animals, the—" She gestured helplessly. "Any of it. I'll teach you." "Why?" "Because you're here. Because we're stuck with each other." Eli's expression softened just a fraction. "And because, maybe, I'm tired of being alone." The admission sat between them, raw and vulnerable. Maddie's chest ached. "Me too." The fire crackled. Wind howled outside. Inside this small cabin, 2 strangers who'd become husband and wife by force stood 3 feet apart and told the truth. "I'll sleep in the barn again tonight," Eli said finally. "You don't have to." "Yeah, I do. You need space. Need to feel safe." He moved toward the door. "Tomorrow I'll start teaching you the ranch. How things work. What needs doing." "Eli." He stopped, hand on the door. "Thank you," Maddie said. "For the dog. For the clothes. For—" Her voice broke. "For not laughing." Eli's scarred face did something complicated. "You keep thanking me for basic decency. That tells me everything about how you've been treated." "Maybe." "Not maybe, definitely." He opened the door. Cold air rushed in. "Get some sleep, Maddie. Tomorrow's gonna be hard." "Why?" Because I'm gonna work you like I'd work anyone else on this ranch. No special treatment, no pity. His eyes held hers. You said you're strong. Time to prove it. The challenge settled in Maddie's bones. Not cruel, not mocking, just honest. I will, she said. Eli nodded once. I believe you. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Maddie stood alone in the cabin. The fire popped. Her shadow stretched across the wall. She thought about yesterday. About standing in that square while an entire town mocked her. About Eli's voice cutting through the laughter. I choose her. She thought about today. About him bringing her coffee. About him rescuing the dog she'd tried to save. About him giving her his dead wife's clothes without making it feel like charity. About him seeing something in her that no one else had ever seen. Maddie moved to the window. In the distance, lamplight glowed from the barn. Eli was out there in the cold because he thought she needed space. Maybe she did. But for the first time in her life, Maddie had something else too. She had a chance. A chance to be something other than the joke of Silver Ridge. A chance to learn. To work. To prove that the girl who wrapped dying dogs in her only shawl was worth more than cruelty had taught her to believe. Maddie pressed her hand against the cold glass. Tomorrow would be hard. Eli had promised that. But hard didn't scare her anymore. She'd survived 28 years of hard. She could survive one more day, and then another, and another. Until one day maybe she'd believe what Eli had said tonight. That she was strong. That she wouldn't break. That she deserved basic decency instead of having to earn it. Maddie turned away from the window. She banked the fire, climbed into bed, pulled Sarah's quilt up to her chin. In the barn, the dog was healing. In the square, the town was probably still laughing. In this cabin, a woman who'd been told she was worthless was learning she might be wrong. And in the darkness beyond the window, winter kept falling. Cold and brutal and absolute. But inside, Maddie was finally warm. Eli woke her before dawn. Not roughly. Not like Silas used to yanking the blanket off and yelling. Just a quiet knock on the doorframe, and his voice cutting through the darkness. Time to get up. Maddie's eyes flew open. The cabin was pitch black except for the dying embers in the fireplace. Her body ached from yesterday's work muscles. She'd forgotten she had screaming in protest. What time is it? She asked, voice thick with sleep. 4:30. We got animals to feed before breakfast. 4:30. Before dawn. Before the sun even thought about rising. Maddie threw off the quilt and stood. Her feet hit the cold floor and she bit back a gasp. Eli was already at the door pulling on his coat. You got 2 minutes, he said. Then I'm starting without you. He meant it. Maddie could hear it in his voice. This wasn't cruelty, this was the ranch. This was what life looked like out here. She dressed fast, fumbling with buttons in the dark. Pulled on Sarah's coat and boots that were still too small. When she stumbled outside, Eli was already halfway to the barn lantern swinging in his hand. Maddie ran to catch up. Her breath came out in white clouds. The snow crunched under her feet. The world was silent and frozen and endless. Inside the barn, Eli was already moving. Measuring grain, filling buckets. His hands worked with the kind of efficiency that came from doing the same thing 1,000 times. Horses eat first, he said without looking up. Then the chickens. Then we check the dog. What do I do? See those buckets? Fill them with water from the pump outside. Don't overfill or they'll freeze before the horses finish drinking. Maddie grabbed the buckets. The handles bit into her palms. She trudged back outside to the pump, worked the handle until water gushed out. Her hands went numb in seconds. She carried the full buckets back inside arms, shaking. Set them down in front of the stalls. Water sloshed over the sides, soaked into the dirt floor. Eli glanced over. Said nothing. Just handed her a scoop of grain. Half scoop per horse. No more, no less. Maddie measured carefully, dumped grain into the first trough. The horse snorted, pushed its nose into the feed. She moved to the next stall, then the next. By the time she finished, sweat ran down her back despite the cold. Her shoulders burned. Her hands were raw. "Good," Eli said. It wasn't praise exactly, just acknowledgement. "Now the chickens." The chickens were worse. They flapped and squawked and pecked at her hands when she scattered feed. One got tangled in her skirt and she nearly fell trying to shake it loose. Eli watched from the doorway. His face gave nothing away. When the chickens finally settled, Maddie straightened. Her hair had come loose from its bun. Her hands were covered in dirt and chicken droppings. "That it?" she asked. "For now." Eli moved to the back corner where the dog lay. "Come here." Maddie followed. The dog's eyes were brighter today. Its tail thumped when it saw her. "Leg's healing," Eli said. He unwrapped the splint, checked the bone with careful fingers. "Another week and he might be able to walk." "He's strong." "Yeah, like someone else I know." Maddie's head snapped up. Eli wasn't looking at her, just rewrapping the splint with steady hands. "You did good this morning," he continued. "Kept up. Didn't complain. You said no special treatment." "And I meant it." He finished with the dog stood. "But I also believe in giving credit where it's due. You worked hard." The words settled in Maddie's chest, warm and unfamiliar. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You earned it." Eli headed for the barn door. "Now let's get breakfast. We got more to do after." They walked back to the cabin through the pre-dawn darkness. Inside, Eli started coffee while Maddie tried to remember how to make biscuits. Her hands were clumsy. The dough stuck to her fingers. "You're working it too much," Eli said from behind her. "I'm trying." "I know, but biscuits need a light touch, like this." He moved beside her, his hands covering hers. "Gentle. Just bring it together." His hands were warm, rough. They guided hers with careful pressure. Maddie's heart hammered in her chest, not from fear, from something else she couldn't name. "Now cut them," Eli said. His breath stirred her hair. "Quick, don't overthink it." She cut the biscuits. Eli stepped back, left her hands cold where his had been. They baked in silence. When the biscuits came out, they were golden. Perfect. Better than anything Maddie had made in years. "See?" Eli poured coffee into 2 cups. "You remember how?" They ate at the table. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten, gray instead of black. "What else needs doing today?" Maddie asked. "Fence needs mending on the north pasture. Snow's knocked down a section." "I can help." Eli's eyes found hers. "You ever mend a fence?" "No, but I can learn." Something flickered across his face. Approval, maybe, or surprise. "All right then, finish your coffee and we'll head out." The north pasture was a 30-minute walk through knee-deep snow. Eli carried tools. Maddie carried fence posts. Her arms screamed within 5 minutes, but she didn't stop. Didn't ask to rest. When they reached the damaged section, Eli surveyed it with a critical eye. "This'll take most of the day." "Then we better start." He handed her a hammer. "You know how to swing this." "My father taught me." "Show me." Maddie took the hammer, positioned a nail, brought the hammer down hard and true. The nail sank into the wood with one strike. Eli's eyebrows rose. "Your father taught you well." He said a woman who couldn't swing a hammer was a woman who'd always need someone else to fix things. "Smart man." Eli pulled out another post. "Let's see if you can keep up." They worked side by side. Eli positioned the posts. Maddie hammered them in. Her arms burned. Blisters rose on her palms. Sweat froze on her face. But she didn't stop. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. The fence slowly took shape. "You need a break?" Eli asked around midday. "Do you?" "No." "Then neither do I." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Stubborn." Takes one to know one. They kept working. Maddie's hands bled now. The blisters had popped. But if Eli noticed, he said nothing. Just kept handing her nails. By the time the sun started dropping, the fence was done. Straight. Strong. Built to last. Eli stood back, hands on his hips. That's good work. Maddie looked at the fence, at her raw, bloody hands, at the posts she'd hammered into frozen ground. Pride swelled in her chest, sharp and fierce and new. Yeah, she said quietly. It is. They walked back to the cabin as dusk fell. Maddie's legs shook with exhaustion. Her entire body screamed. But inside something sang. She'd done this. She'd kept up with a man twice her strength and built something that would last. At the cabin, Eli heated water for washing. Maddie scrubbed her hands clean, wincing as the water hit her broken blisters. Let me see, Eli said. She held out her hands. Eli examined them carefully. His rough fingers were gentle as they turned her palms up. You should have said something. Would you have stopped? No. Then why should I? Eli's eyes lifted to hers. Held. Because I'm used to pain. You're not. You don't know what I'm used to. The words came out harder than she meant. Eli's expression shifted. No, he said quietly. I guess I don't. He disappeared into the back corner again, returned with a tin of salve. He unscrewed the lid, scooped out a fingerful. Give me your hand. Maddie hesitated. Eli waited patient. Finally, she extended her right hand. He smoothed the salve across her palm. His touch was feather light, careful not to press too hard on the broken skin. This'll help, he murmured. Won't heal it overnight, but it'll ease the sting. Maddie watched his bent head, watched the way his scarred fingers worked the salve into her damaged skin. This man, this stranger who'd become her husband, was tending her wounds like they mattered, like she mattered. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Doing what? Being kind, teaching me, not... Her voice caught. Not treating me like a burden. Eli finished with her right hand reached for her left. You're not a burden. Silas said, Silas was wrong. Eli's voice went hard. Any man who tells a woman she's a burden for existing is a coward. He said I ate too much, cost too much, that I was lucky he let me stay under his roof. Eli's hands stilled. When he looked up, his eyes blazed. If I ever see your stepfather again, I'm going to have words with him. Don't. He's not worth it. Maybe not. But you are. The words hung between them. Maddie's throat tightened. Eli finished with her left hand, set the tin aside. You worked hard today, harder than most men I know. And you didn't quit. He stood. That's worth something. Worth a lot, actually. In town, they said, I don't care what they said in town. Eli crossed his arms. You're not in town anymore. You're here. And here you pull your weight, you get respect. Simple as that. Maddie's eyes burned. She looked down at her bandaged hands. I'm not used to respect. I know, but you better get used to it. Eli moved to the stove. Now sit down, I'll make dinner. I can help. You've done enough today. Rest. It wasn't a suggestion. Maddie sank into the chair by the fire. Her body sagged with exhaustion. She watched Eli move around the kitchen. Watched him dice vegetables with practiced ease. Watched him stir the pot with one hand while adding spices with the other. You really did learn to cook in the army, she said. Had to. Nobody else was going to feed me. He glanced over his shoulder. You like rabbit? I've never had it. Well, you're about to. He ladled stew into 2 bowls. Shot this one yesterday morning. Fresh meat's better than salt pork any day. They ate together. The stew was rich, hearty, better than anything Maddie had tasted in years. She ate 3 bowls without realizing it. Eli noticed, said nothing, just refilled her bowl each time without comment. When they finished, the darkness outside was complete. Wind rattled the windows. Eli banked the fire for the night. "You want me to sleep in the barn again?" he asked. Maddie opened her mouth, closed it. Her mind spun. Yesterday, she'd needed space, needed time to process everything. But today, after working beside him for 12 hours, after feeling his gentle hands on her raw palms, after watching him treat her like an equal instead of a joke, today felt different. "No," she said quietly. "You can stay inside." Eli's eyebrows rose. "You sure? It's freezing out there, and this is your house." She swallowed hard. "I'm not going to make you sleep in your own barn. It's our house now." The words settled between them. Our house, not his. Ours. "Still," Maddie said. "You should be warm." Eli studied her face, looking for something. "All right, I'll take the floor by the fire." "That's not—" "Maddie." His voice was gentle but firm. "I'm not getting in that bed with you. Not tonight. Not until you want me there." He grabbed a blanket from the trunk. "Floor's fine. I've slept in worse places." He stretched out by the fireplace, pulled the blanket over himself. Within minutes, his breathing evened out. Maddie climbed into bed, pulled the quilt up, stared at the ceiling. Across the room, Eli slept on the hard floor, choosing discomfort so she could feel safe, choosing patience when he could have demanded his rights as her husband, choosing her comfort over his own. Maddie's chest ached. She curled on her side, watching the firelight play across the walls. Outside, winter howled. Inside, two people who'd been forced together were slowly learning how to exist in the same space without breaking each other. It wasn't love, not yet, maybe not ever. But it was something. Something more than Maddie had ever had before. She closed her eyes and let exhaustion pull her under. The days blurred together after that. Each morning started before dawn. Each day brought new tasks, mending tools, feeding animals, chopping firewood, mucking stalls. Eli worked her hard. Never cruel, but never easy either. And Maddie rose to meet it. Her hands toughened. Her arms grew stronger. Her back stopped screaming after the first week. She learned which chickens were mean and which were gentle. She learned how to coax the horses into their stalls. She learned how to read the sky for coming storms. Eli taught her everything, patient when she struggled, firm when she wanted to quit, never once treating her like she was fragile. "You're getting faster," he said one morning as she finished feeding the horses. "Am I? Cut your time in half since that first day." Pride bloomed in Maddie's chest. "My father used to say practice makes permanent." He was right. Eli handed her a pitchfork. "Now let's see how you handle mucking stalls." The dog healed. By the second week, it was standing. By the third, it was limping around the barn. Maddie named it Soldier. "Why Soldier?" Eli asked. "Because he survived when he shouldn't have. Like you." Eli's face went still, then so quiet she almost missed it. "Like both of us." The words settled in Maddie's bones, true and deep. They fell into a rhythm. Work all day, eat together at night, talk about small things, weather animals, what needed fixing next. Never about the past, never about what they were to each other. Just two people sharing space, learning each other's rhythms, building something that looked almost like trust. 3 weeks after the wedding, Maddie woke to silence again. But this time she knew what it meant. She dressed quickly and went outside. Eli stood by the barn staring at the road that led to town. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Supplies are running low. We need to go to Silver Ridge." Maddie's stomach dropped. "Both of us." "Yeah, I need help carrying things back." The thought of facing that town again made Maddie's hands shake, but she forced her voice steady. "All right. When do we leave?" "After breakfast." Eli finally looked at her. "They're gonna talk. You know that." "I know." "You gonna be able to handle it?" Maddie thought about the girl who'd stood in that square 4 weeks ago, shaking, crying, wishing she could disappear. Then she thought about the woman she was now, stronger, tougher, capable of building fences and feeding horses and surviving 12-hour days without breaking. "Yeah," she said, "I can handle it." Eli's mouth quirked, almost a smile. "I believe you." They rode to town together on Eli's horse. Maddie sat behind him, arms wrapped around his waist. She could feel his heartbeat through his coat, steady, strong, unafraid. Silver Ridge appeared through the trees. Maddie's heart hammered. Her palms went slick. "Breathe," Eli said quietly. She did. In through her nose, out through her mouth. They rode down Main Street. Heads turned. Whispers started. Women clutched each other's arms. Men stopped mid-conversation to stare. Eli didn't slow, didn't acknowledge them. Just rode straight to the general store and dismounted. He reached up for Maddie, lifted her down like she weighed nothing. "Stay close," he murmured. They walked into the store together. Silas stood behind the counter. His eyes widened when he saw Maddie. "Well, well," he drawled. "Look who came crawling back." Eli's hand found the small of Maddie's back. "We're here for supplies, not conversation." "That right." Silas leaned against the counter. "Heard you two been playing house. How's that working out for you, cowboy wife, eating you out of house and home yet?" Maddie's face burned. But before she could speak, Eli moved. He crossed the space between them in 2 strides, planted both hands on the counter, and leaned in close. "Listen to me," Eli said, voice deadly quiet. "That's my wife you're talking about. You insult her again, we're gonna have a problem." Silas's smirk faded. "Now hold on." "No, you hold on." Eli's eyes blazed. "I know exactly what kind of man you are. I know how you treated her, and I'm telling you right now, those days are done." The store had gone silent. Other customers pressed against the walls watching. "She's still under my roof," Silas tried. "She's under mine now. And if you got something to say about my wife, you say it to me." Eli straightened. "Otherwise, shut your mouth and get our supplies." Silas's face went purple. But he didn't argue, just grabbed a piece of paper. "What do you need?" Eli rattled off a list. Flour, sugar, coffee, salt. Silas gathered items with shaking hands. Maddie stood frozen. No one had ever defended her like that. Not her mother. Not her father. God rest him, no one. But Eli had stepped between her and cruelty without hesitation. When the supplies were wrapped, Eli paid, took the packages, turned to leave. "Maddie," Silas called. She stopped, looked back. "Your mama wants to see you." Maddie's stomach twisted. "Why?" "Didn't say. Just said if you came to town I should tell you." Eli's hand pressed against her back. "You don't have to go." "I know." Maddie swallowed hard. "But I should." "Then I'm coming with you." They walked together to the small house behind the store, the house Maddie had grown up in, the house that had never felt like home. Her mother answered the door, older than Maddie remembered, grayer, smaller somehow. "Maddie," her mother's voice cracked. "You came. Silas said you wanted to see me." Her mother's eyes slid to Eli. "Can we talk alone?" "No," Maddie said, surprising herself. "Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of my husband." Her mother flinched. "All right." She stepped back. "Come in." Inside the house was exactly as Maddie remembered. Cold, sparse, unwelcoming. Her mother twisted her hands together. "I wanted to apologize." Maddie blinked. "What?" "For how I treated you, for the things I said." Her mother's voice shook. "You're my daughter. I should have—" She stopped, started again. "I should have protected you." The words hung in the cold air. Maddie's throat closed. "Why didn't you—" The question came out raw. Why did you let him treat me that way? Because I was afraid. Her mother's eyes filled. Afraid if I stood up for you, he'd throw us both out. Afraid of being alone again. She wiped her face. But that's no excuse. You deserved better. Maddie's chest ached. Part of her wanted to forgive, wanted to wrap her arms around her mother and say it was all right. But it wasn't all right. You were supposed to love me, Maddie whispered. You were supposed to be on my side. I know. And you weren't. You chose him over me, every single time. Her mother nodded, tears streaming now. I did. And I'm sorry. I know sorry isn't enough, but it's all I have. Eli's hand found Maddie's, squeezed once. Maddie looked at her mother. This woman who'd given birth to her, who'd fed her, who'd also torn her down with every cruel word. I forgive you, Maddie said finally. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve to stop carrying this. Her mother's face crumpled. Thank you. But I'm not coming back. This isn't my home anymore. I know. And if you want to see me again, you'll have to come to the ranch, on my terms, not Silas's. Her mother nodded. I will. I promise. Maddie turned to leave. Stopped. Mama. Yes. The girl you said no man would want, she's doing just fine. Then she walked out. Eli followed. They climbed back on the horse and rode away from Silver Ridge without looking back. Halfway home, Maddie started crying. Not from sadness. From relief. From release. Eli pulled the horse to a stop, turned in the saddle. You all right? Maddie nodded. Yeah, I'm just... She wiped her face. I'm free. Eli's eyes softened. He brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Yeah, you are. They rode the rest of the way in silence. When they reached the ranch, the sun was setting, painting the snow gold and pink. Inside the cabin, Eli started the fire. Maddie stood by the window watching the last light fade. Thank you, she said. For what? For standing up for me. For coming with me. For... Her voice broke. For making me believe I'm worth defending. Eli crossed the room, stood beside her at the window. You've always been worth defending, Maddie. You just needed someone to show you. She turned to face him. This man who'd chosen her when no one else would, who'd worked beside her, who'd tended her wounds and taught her strength and defended her honor without being asked. This man who was becoming more than a stranger. Eli. Yeah. You don't have to sleep on the floor anymore. His breath caught. Maddie, I'm not saying... She swallowed hard. I'm not ready for everything, but I trust you. And I'm tired of you freezing every night. Eli studied her face. You sure? I'm sure. That night, Eli climbed into bed beside her, stayed on his side, didn't touch her, but his warmth seeped across the space between them. Maddie lay awake listening to him breathe, feeling safer than she'd ever felt in her life. And outside, winter pressed against the windows, but inside, something was finally thawing. Spring came slowly to the mountains. The snow melted in patches, revealing brown grass and mud that sucked at boots. The days grew longer, the air less bitter. Maddie woke one morning to Eli's side of the bed already empty. She sat up, rubbed her eyes. Through the window she could see him outside splitting wood, his breath still visible in the cold morning air. She dressed quickly and went to start breakfast. The routine was second nature now. Coffee first, then biscuits, then whatever meat they had left from yesterday. When Eli came inside, sweat dampened his shirt despite the cold. He hung his coat by the door and washed his hands in the basin. Sleep well, he asked. Better than I used to. It was true. The nightmares had faded. The ones where she stood in that square forever, laughing echoing in her ears. Where she woke, gasping, certain she was back in Silas's house. Now, when she woke, Eli was beside her. solid, real. A reminder that the past was done. Good. He poured coffee. We need to talk. Maddie's stomach tightened. Those words never led anywhere good. About what? The ranch. Eli sat at the table. It's doing all right. We got enough saved to make it through next winter. But we could do better. How? Horses. Eli's eyes lit up the first real spark of excitement she'd seen in him. I'm good with horses. Always have been. If we started breeding them, training them, we could sell to the cavalry, to ranchers, make real money. That sounds good. Why do you need to talk to me about it? Because it's your ranch too now, your decision. He leaned forward. And because it means more work, a lot more. I can't do it alone. Maddie's chest warmed. He wasn't just telling her his plan. He was asking her opinion, treating her like a partner. I don't know anything about training horses, she said. You didn't know anything about feeding chickens either. You learned. This is different. How? Maddie struggled for words. Horses are bigger, stronger. They could hurt me. They could hurt me too. That's why we're careful. Eli's voice softened. I won't let anything happen to you, Maddie. I'll teach you everything. Same as before. She looked at him. At this man who'd spent 3 months showing her she was capable of more than she'd ever believed. All right, she said. Let's do it. Do. Eli's rare smile broke across his face. Yeah. He stood, came around the table. For a moment, Maddie thought he might hug her, but he just squeezed her shoulder quick and warm. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I haven't done anything. You trusted me. That's something. The words settled between them. Trust. Such a small word for such a massive shift. They finished breakfast and went to the barn. Eli led out his gelding, the gray one he'd ridden the day they met. This is Storm, Eli said. He's steady, good-tempered. If you're gonna learn, you'll learn with him. Maddie eyed the horse. It was huge up close. Its shoulder came level with her head. He won't hurt you, Eli said. Watch. He ran his hand down Storm's neck. The horse leaned into the touch eyes half closed. Trusting. Content. Your turn. Maddie stepped forward, extended her hand slowly. Storm's nose touched her palm, warm breath huffing against her skin. Good, Eli murmured. Now stroke his neck. Let him know you're friendly. Maddie did. Storm's coat was soft under her fingers. The horse shifted weight, but didn't move away. See, he likes you. How can you tell? His ears are forward. He's relaxed. Eli moved to Storm's side. Now come here. I'm going to teach you how to saddle him. The next hour passed in careful instruction. How to lift the saddle without straining her back. How to position it properly. How to tighten the girth without making the horse uncomfortable. Maddie's arms shook by the end. But the saddle was on. Secure. Ready. Now mount up, Eli said. What? You can't learn about horses from the ground. Get on. Maddie's heart hammered. I haven't ridden since I pulled you up behind me that first day. I know. Eli led Storm to the fence. Use the fence for height. Left foot in the stirrup. Swing your right leg over. Maddie climbed the fence, positioned her foot. Her hands gripped the saddle horn so hard her knuckles went white. I've got you, Eli said. His hand steadied her back. I won't let you fall. She swung her leg over. Suddenly she was up 8 feet off the ground, perched on top of an animal that could bolt any second. Breathe, Eli said. Maddie sucked in air. Her whole body was rigid. Look at me. Eli's voice cut through the panic. Storm's been carrying men twice your size for 10 years. He's not going to dump you, but you gotta relax or you'll make him nervous. How do I relax when I'm terrified? You trust me, and you trust him. Eli's hand stayed on her leg. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Slowly, Maddie's muscles unclenched. She took another breath, then another. Storm shifted beneath her. Maddie's hands tightened on the reins. "Easy," Eli said. "He's just settling. You're doing good." "I don't feel like I'm doing good." "Well, you are." He smiled up at her. "Now let's walk." He led Storm around the paddock. Slow, steady. Maddie focused on breathing, on the rhythm of the horse's gait, on Eli's voice calling encouragement. By the third lap, her death grip had loosened. By the fifth, she was almost comfortable. "How you feeling?" Eli asked. "Like I might not die." He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was so unexpected Maddie nearly fell off. "That's progress," he said. "Tomorrow we'll go faster." They worked with the horses every day after that. Eli brought in 2 mares he'd bought from a neighboring ranch. Young, spirited, ready for training. "This one's Willow," he said, stroking a chestnut mare. "And this one's Dancer." Maddie approached Dancer carefully. The mare tossed her head, ears flicking. "She's nervous," Maddie said. "Yeah, previous owner didn't treat her right. She's got trust issues." Maddie understood that. She held out her hand, palm up, waited. Dancer snorted, backed away. "It's all right," Maddie murmured. "Take your time, or day." She stood still, patient, the way Eli had been patient with her. After a long minute, Dancer took a tentative step forward. Her nose touched Maddie's hand, velvet soft, uncertain. "That's it," Maddie breathed. "Nobody's gonna hurt you here." Dancer's ears pricked forward. She took another step. "She's coming around," Eli said quietly from behind Maddie. "You're good at this." "I just know what it's like to be scared." "Yeah, you do." Maddie spent hours with Dancer after that, talking to her, brushing her coat, feeding her treats, building trust one careful moment at a time. Eli worked with Willow. The mare was easier, confident, friendly, eager to please. Within a week he had her walking on a lead line. Within 2, she was accepting a saddle. But Dancer remained skittish. She'd let Maddie touch her now, would eat from her hand. But the moment anyone tried to put a halter on, she'd bolt. "Give her time," Eli said. "Some wounds take longer to heal." Maddie knew he wasn't just talking about the horse. One afternoon, Maddie was in the barn alone. Eli had ridden to the neighboring ranch to discuss selling Storm's first colt. The cabin was quiet, too quiet. Maddie went to Dancer's stall. The mare stood in the corner, head low. "Hey, girl," Maddie said softly. Dancer's ear flicked, but she didn't move. Maddie opened the stall door, stepped inside. Dancer tensed. "It's just me. You know me." She approached slowly, 1 step, 2. Dancer's eyes rolled white. "I know you're scared," Maddie whispered. "I know someone hurt you, made you think the world was dangerous." Dancer's breathing quickened. "But not everyone's like that." Maddie stopped an arm's length away. "Some people see you're scared and they wait. They let you come to them. They don't force." Dancer's head lifted. Her eyes met Maddie's. "My husband's like that," Maddie continued. "He could have forced things, could have demanded his rights, but he didn't. He waited until I was ready." Her voice cracked. "He saw I was scared and he gave me time." Dancer took a step forward, then another. "That's it," Maddie breathed. "Come on, I'm not gonna hurt you." Dancer's nose touched Maddie's chest. Her breath was warm through the fabric of Maddie's shirt. Maddie slowly raised her hand, stroked Dancer's neck. The mare trembled, but didn't bolt. "Good girl," Maddie whispered. "Such a good girl." They stood like that for a long time, woman and horse, both learning to trust again. When Eli returned that evening, he found Maddie in the paddock. Dancer followed her like a dog, no halter, no rope, just choosing to stay close. Eli stopped in his tracks. "How did you do that?" I told her I understood. He stared at them. At Maddie walking free with a horse everyone said was untrainable. At the bond built on patience and empathy instead of force. You're something else, he said quietly. Maddie turned. What? You're something else, he repeated. You know that. Heat crept up her neck. I just spent time with her. No, you understood her. Eli climbed the fence, sat on the top rail. Most people would have given up, said she was too damaged, but you saw past that. Someone did the same for me. Their eyes met, held. Yeah, Eli said softly. I guess I did. The moment stretched. Something shifted in the air between them. Something warm and fragile and new. Dancer nudged Maddie's shoulder, breaking the spell. Maddie laughed and fed her a carrot. That night after dinner, they sat by the fire. Eli whittled a piece of wood. Maddie mended a shirt. The silence was comfortable now. Easy. Can I ask you something? Maddie said. Sure. Why did you really choose me that day? Eli's knife stilled. I told you, I saw you with the dog. I know, but there's more, isn't there? He set down the knife, stared at the fire for a long time. You reminded me of Sarah, he said finally. Maddie's chest tightened. Your wife. Yeah, but not in the way you think. He picked up the poker, prodded the logs. Sarah was beautiful. Everyone said so. But she was fragile, breakable. She couldn't stand up for herself, couldn't survive hardship. He paused. Flames reflected in his eyes. I loved her. But I also... He stopped, started again. I also resented her sometimes, for needing so much protection, for making me feel like I had to be strong enough for both of us. Maddie's throat ached. That's not love. That's burden. Yeah, I know that now. Eli looked at her. When I saw you in that square, you were nothing like her. You were strong, brave. You took their cruelty, and you didn't break. His voice roughened. And I thought if I have to marry someone, let it be someone who won't shatter. Someone who can stand beside me, not behind me. You wanted a partner, Maddie said softly. Yeah, I did. I do. Is that what I am now, your partner? Eli set down the poker, turned to face her fully. What do you think? Maddie thought about the last 3 months, about learning to work the ranch, about building fences and training horses, about the way Eli asked her opinion, trusted her judgment, treated her like an equal. I think, she said carefully, we're getting there. Just getting there. Well, there's still things we don't talk about. Like what? Maddie's heart hammered. Like why you look at me sometimes like you want to say something but don't. Like why you turn away when I'm changing clothes even though we're married. Like why... She swallowed hard. Like why you haven't touched me since that first night when we shared the bed. Eli's jaw tightened. I didn't think you wanted me to. I didn't. Not at first. Maddie set down her mending. But it's been 3 months, Eli. And Her voice dropped. I'm not scared anymore. The fire crackled. Wind pressed against the windows. Eli's eyes searched her face. You sure? Would I say it if I wasn't? Maybe, if you thought it was your duty. This isn't about duty. Maddie stood, crossed to where he sat. This is about me wanting my husband to stop sleeping as far away as possible. About me wanting to know if... She faltered. If you even want to touch me. Eli surged to his feet. Want to... His voice was rough, raw. Maddie, I've spent 3 months lying next to you trying not to think about it, trying to give you space, trying to be patient when every instinct I have says... He stopped himself, breathed hard. Says what? Maddie whispered. Says you're my wife, and I want to know you. Not just as a partner, as... He ran a hand through his hair. As everything. Maddie's breath caught. Then why haven't you... Because you've been hurt enough. Because I won't be another man who takes what he wants without asking. Because... His voice cracked. Because I need to know you want this. Not because you think you owe me. Not because it's expected. But because you want it. Maddie stepped closer. Close enough to feel his heat. Close enough to see his chest rise and fall with each breath. I want it, she said. Eli's hands came up, cupped her face. His touch was gentle, reverent. Say it again. I want this. I want you. He leaned down, pressed his forehead to hers. You're sure? I'm sure. His lips found hers, soft at first, questioning. Maddie kissed him back, pouring 3 months of trust and growing affection into that single moment. Eli's arms wrapped around her waist, pulled her close. Maddie's hands gripped his shoulders, anchoring herself to this man who'd shown her what it meant to be chosen, to be valued, to be loved. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Eli's eyes were dark. Bed, he asked. Maddie nodded. He took her hand, led her across the room, and for the first time since their wedding night, there was no distance between them, no hesitation, no fear, just two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something real out of the ruins. The next morning, Maddie woke wrapped in Eli's arms. Sunlight streamed through the window. Outside, birds sang. Spring was here. Eli stirred. His eyes opened, found hers. Morning, he murmured. Morning. He smiled. A real smile. The kind she rarely saw. You all right? Better than all right. His hand brushed hair from her face. No regrets. None. She kissed his jaw. You? Not a single one. They lay there a while longer, just existing in the warmth and quiet. Finally, duty called. Animals needed feeding. Work needed doing. They rose and dressed. Eli's hand found hers as they walked to the barn. Things are different now, he said. I know. Good different. Maddie squeezed his hand. Very good different. In the barn, Dancer whinnied when she saw them. Soldier limped over for his morning scratches. The chickens squawked. Life continued familiar and steady, but everything felt lighter now. Brighter. They worked through the morning. By afternoon, clouds rolled in from the mountains. Dark. Heavy with rain. Storm coming, Eli said, scanning the sky. We should secure the barn. They worked fast, closed shutters, checked the roof for leaks, brought in extra firewood. The rain hit just as they finished, hard and cold drumming against the cabin roof. Inside, Eli started a fire. Maddie made coffee. They sat together watching the storm through the window. I used to hate storms, Maddie said. They were always so loud in Silas's house, made me feel trapped. And now I like them. They make me feel safe. How's that work? Maddie leaned against him. Because I'm not alone anymore. Eli's arm came around her shoulders, held her close. No, you're not. The storm raged outside. Rain battered the windows. Wind howled. But inside they were warm, dry, together. Eli. Yeah. Thank you for waiting, for giving me time. His lips brushed her hair. Thank you for letting me in. They sat like that until the storm passed, until the sun broke through the clouds, until the world outside was washed clean and new. And when they finally stood, it was with the certainty that whatever came next, they'd face it together. Not as strangers forced into marriage, not as two broken people surviving side by side, but as partners, as husband and wife, as two souls who'd found home in the most unexpected place. Each other. 2 months later, Maddie stood in the paddock with Dancer. The mare wore a saddle now, accepted the bit without fighting, trusted Maddie's hands on the reins. You ready? Eli called from the fence. Maddie's heart hammered. As ready as I'll ever be. She put her foot in the stirrup. Swung up. Dancer shifted beneath her, but didn't bolt, didn't fight. Good girl, Maddie murmured. We're doing this together. She squeezed with her legs. Dancer took a step, then another. They walked the paddock once, twice. Maddie's hands stayed light on the reins. Her body moved with the horse's rhythm. When they completed the third lap, Eli was grinning. That's my girl. Maddie didn't know if he meant her or the horse. Didn't matter. Pride swelled in her chest either way. She dismounted. Eli met her, pulled her into a kiss that tasted like joy and spring air. You did it, he said against her mouth. We did it. No, you did. He pulled back, eyes shining. I knew you could. That evening, as they ate dinner, Eli pushed a piece of paper across the table. What's this? Maddie asked. Order from Fort Collins. They want 4 horses, trained and ready by fall. Maddie's breath caught. 4 horses? Yeah, it's good money. Real good. He leaned back. We can do it. Between Dancer Willow and the 2 colts that'll be weaned by then, we got what they need. That's... Maddie's mind spun with numbers. That's enough to expand, maybe buy more breeding stock. Or fix up the cabin, add another room. Eli's eyes held hers. In case we need it. The implication hung between them. Another room. For a child. Maddie's hand moved to her stomach without thinking. I'm not... I know. But someday maybe. His voice softened. If you want that. Do you? Eli stood, came around the table, pulled her to her feet. I want whatever makes you happy. If that's children, then yes. If it's just us and the horses, that's enough too. Maddie's throat tightened. I think I might want both. Then we'll have both. He kissed her forehead. But first we got horses to train. The summer passed in hard work and growing prosperity. Word spread about Eli's training methods. About the woman who could gentle the most skittish horses. Orders came in from neighboring ranches, from cavalry officers, from wealthy men who wanted reliable mounts. Maddie worked alongside Eli every day. Her body grew stronger, her hands more confident. The girl who'd been mocked in that square was gone. In her place stood a woman who could break a horse, mend a fence, and run a business. But not everyone was happy about their success. One afternoon in late July, 3 men rode up to the ranch. Maddie recognized one of them. Thomas Hartwell, the sheriff's son. Eli Stone, Thomas called out. Need a word? Eli emerged from the barn, Maddie beside him. His hand found the small of her back. Protective. What can I do for you, Thomas? Thomas dismounted. His 2 companions stayed on their horses. Their faces were hard, unfriendly. Heard you've been taking contracts, Thomas said. Training horses for the cavalry. That's right. Funny thing. My father had an agreement with Fort Collins, been supplying them horses for years. Thomas's eyes narrowed. Then you come along and undercut his prices. I didn't undercut anything. I offered better quality at fair rates. You made my father look bad. Your father made himself look bad by selling half-broke horses to men who depend on them. Eli's voice stayed level. I'm just offering an alternative. Thomas's jaw tightened. You think you're real smart, don't you? Coming here with your war record and your pretty words. Taking contracts that rightfully belong to Silver Ridge families. There's no rightfully belongs, it's business. Best horse wins. That how you see it? Thomas looked at Maddie. His lips curled. Or maybe you just got an unfair advantage. Heard your wife's got a way with animals. Some kind of unnatural gift. Maddie's stomach clenched. Eli's hand pressed harder against her back. Watch your mouth, Eli said quietly. I'm just saying what folks are saying. That maybe she's doing something she shouldn't. using tricks, maybe even... Finish that sentence and we're gonna have a problem. Thomas held up his hands. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, just passing along concerns. Some people think it's strange how fast you built this operation, how you got that crazy mayor to settle, how you're taking food out of honest people's mouths. Honest people. Eli's voice went cold. Your father runs the only supply store in town, charges twice what things are worth because folks got no choice. You want to talk about taking food out of mouths? Thomas's face darkened. My father's business is legitimate. So is mine. Is it though? Thomas stepped closer. Because I'm thinking maybe we should check. Make sure everything's above board. Maybe inspect your operation. Talk to your buyers. See if there's been any misrepresentation. There hasn't been. Well, we'll see about that. Thomas remounted his horse. My father's the law in Silver Ridge. If he decides to investigate, you'll cooperate. Won't you? The threat hung in the air. Eli's whole body was tense. Maddie could feel the anger vibrating through him. Is that all? Eli asked. For now. Thomas turned his horse. Enjoy your success while it lasts, Stone. Things change fast around here. They rode away. Maddie watched them disappear down the road. They're going to cause trouble, she said. I know. What do we do? Eli turned to her. We keep working, keep building, and we don't give them any excuse to shut us down. But the visit had rattled them both. That night, Maddie lay awake staring at the ceiling. You still worried? Eli asked from beside her. Yes. He rolled toward her. Thomas is all talk. His father doesn't have any real power over what we do out here. Doesn't he? He's the sheriff. He could claim the horses are stolen, could say we're cheating buyers, could make life very difficult. He won't. We got contracts, written agreements. Everything's legitimate. Since when does that matter to men like him? Maddie's voice rose. They don't care about legitimate. They care about keeping people in their place. And right now, we're not staying in ours. Eli was quiet for a moment. Then, you want to stop scale back? No, but I'm scared. Me too. His hand found hers in the darkness. But we don't let fear win. Not after everything we've built. Maddie squeezed his fingers. You're right. Besides, Eli's voice lightened. Thomas Hartwell is a bully. And I've dealt with worse than him. When? War. Officers who thought rank meant they could treat men like dirt. I learned something back then. What? Bullies back down when you stand your ground. Every time. Maddie wanted to believe him. She really did. 3 weeks later, Sheriff Hartwell himself showed up, with 4 deputies, and a paper claiming he had the right to inspect the ranch for suspected fraud. Eli met them at the gate. Maddie stood beside him, heart pounding. This is harassment, Eli said flatly. This is my job. Hartwell waved the paper. Got complaints about your operation. I'm obligated to investigate. What complaints? That's confidential. Hartwell pushed past Eli. Now you can cooperate or I can make this difficult. They had no choice. Hartwell and his men searched everything. The barn, the paddocks, the cabin. They examined the horses, checked the books, asked invasive questions about training methods. Maddie watched them paw through her home with rage building in her chest. This was the same man who'd mocked her in that square, who'd pointed at her like she was a joke, who'd forced this marriage in the first place, and now he was here to tear down what they'd built. Everything looks in order, one of the deputies finally admitted. Hartwell's face darkened. He clearly hadn't expected that. Check again. Sir, there's nothing here. The contracts are legitimate. The horses are well cared for. The training logs are detailed and accurate. I said check again. The deputy shifted uncomfortably. With respect, sir, we've checked twice. If we keep searching without cause, it's going to look personal. Hartwell's jaw worked. His eyes landed on Maddie. You. Come here." Maddie didn't move. Eli stepped in front of her. "You want to talk to my wife, you go through me." "That how it is?" Hartwell sneered. Big man protecting his fat wife. The words hit like stones. Maddie flinched. Eli's whole body went rigid. "Say that again," Eli said softly. Too softly. "I said—" Eli moved, fast. He grabbed Hartwell by the collar and slammed him against the fence. The deputies reached for their guns, but Eli's voice stopped them. "Don't." His eyes never left Hartwell. "Your boss just made a mistake. He's going to apologize. Aren't you, Sheriff?" Hartwell's face was purple. "Get your hands off me." "Apologize to my wife." "I don't apologize to—" Eli shoved him harder. "Wrong answer. Try again." "Stone, you're assaulting a lawman. And you're trespassing on my land, harassing my business, insulting my wife." Eli's voice dropped to a growl. "Now you can apologize and leave, or I can throw you off my property, and you can explain to the territorial governor why you abused your position to settle a personal grudge." Hartwell's eyes widened. "You wouldn't." "Try me. I got friends in Denver, men I served with, men who owe me favors." Eli leaned closer. "You really want to test whether a decorated war hero or a small-town sheriff has more pull?" The silence stretched. Finally, Hartwell's shoulders sagged. "Fine." He looked past Eli to Maddie. The apology came out through gritted teeth. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Stone." Eli released him, stepped back. "Now get off my land. All of you." Hartwell straightened his coat. His face was murderous. "This isn't over." "Yeah, it is. You got nothing on us. Nothing but spite and jealousy, because we're succeeding without your permission." Eli crossed his arms. "You come back here without a warrant signed by a territorial judge, I'll have you arrested for harassment. We clear?" Hartwell mounted his horse. "You made a powerful enemy today, Stone." "No. You made an enemy when you pointed at my wife and mocked her. I'm just returning the favor." They rode away. Maddie's legs gave out. She sat hard on the porch steps. Eli crouched beside her. "You all right?" "You threatened the sheriff." Her voice shook. "Eli, you could have been arrested. Shot. He wasn't going to shoot me. Too many witnesses." Eli's hand cupped her face. "And I wasn't going to let him talk about you that way." "It's just words." "No, it's not." His thumb brushed her cheek. "Words matter. Especially from men with power. And I won't let anyone make you feel small again. Not while I'm breathing." Tears spilled down Maddie's face. Not from sadness, from something bigger. Something that filled her entire chest until she thought she might burst. "I love you," she whispered. Eli went still. "What? I love you. I think I have for a while now, but I was scared to say it." His eyes searched hers. "Why?" "Because you married me out of duty. Because I thought maybe you'd never feel the same. Because—" He kissed her. Hard and desperate and full of everything he'd been holding back. When they broke apart, his forehead pressed to hers. "I love you too. Have since you stood up to your mother. Since you gentle dancer. Since you hammered fence posts with bleeding hands and didn't complain once." His voice cracked. "You're the strongest person I know, Maddie, and I'm so damn grateful you said yes that day." Maddie pulled him close. They held each other on the porch steps while the sun set and the horses whinnied in the paddock, and the world spun on around them. Word of Eli's confrontation with Hartwell spread fast. Within a week, half of Silver Ridge knew. Some people were horrified. Others quietly pleased that someone had finally stood up to the sheriff. Orders kept coming. More than before. Ranchers who'd been afraid to cross Hartwell now saw an opportunity. If Eli Stone could face him down, maybe they could too. By autumn, Eli and Maddie had fulfilled the Fort Collins contract and had 3 more lined up for spring. The ranch was thriving. Their savings were growing. Talk started about them being one of the most successful horse operations in Colorado. One crisp October morning, Maddie woke feeling strange. Her stomach churned. She barely made it outside before she was sick. Eli found her leaning against the porch rail. "You all right?" "I don't know, must have eaten something bad." But it happened again the next morning, and the next. By the fourth day, realization dawned. Maddie pressed a hand to her stomach. "Oh. Oh." Eli appeared in the doorway. "Oh, what?" She turned to face him. "I think I'm pregnant." The words hung in the morning air. Eli's eyes went wide. "You think? I'm late, and I'm sick every morning, and—" She laughed shakily. "And I think I'm pregnant." Eli crossed the porch in 2 strides, swept her into his arms, spun her around. "Eli, put me down, I'll be sick again." He set her down carefully. His hands framed her face. "A baby." "Maybe. We should wait. Make sure." "A baby," he repeated. His eyes were wet. "We're going to have a baby." Maddie's own tears spilled over. "Are you happy?" "Happy." He laughed. "Maddie, He stopped, swallowed hard. "I never thought I'd get this chance again. After Sarah, after losing them both, I thought—" His voice broke. "I thought this part of my life was done." "It's not done. It's just beginning." He pulled her close, held her like she was made of glass. "I'm scared." "Me too. But we'll get through it. Together." "Together," Maddie agreed. The pregnancy was confirmed by the doctor in Silver Ridge. Maddie was 12 weeks along. Healthy, strong. The doctor said everything looked good. When they left his office, they ran into Clara Hutchins, the woman who'd mocked Maddie in the market that day, who'd laughed when Eli chose her. Clara's eyes dropped to Maddie's stomach. "Is it true you're expecting—" Maddie lifted her chin. "Yes." Clara's face did something complicated. "Well, congratulations." It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cruel either, just acknowledgement. Maddie would take it. As winter approached again, they prepared. Eli built a cradle. Maddie sewed tiny clothes. They talked about names, made plans, dreamed about the future. One evening as snow began to fall again, they sat by the fire. Maddie's hand rested on her growing belly. Eli's hand covered hers. "You remember that first night?" he asked. "When I brought you here? Every second of it. I thought we were doomed. Thought we'd spend our whole lives just tolerating each other. And now—" His hand squeezed hers. "Now I can't imagine my life without you." Maddie leaned into him. "That girl in the square, the one they laughed at, she's gone." "No, she's not gone. She's right here, just stronger, braver." Eli's lips brushed her hair. "She always was. She just needed someone to see it." "You saw it." "Yeah, I did." Outside, the snow fell harder. The same snow that had fallen the day Eli chose her. The day everything changed. Maddie thought about that square. About the laughter. About wanting to disappear. About believing she was worthless. She thought about the months that followed. The work. The pain. The slow building of trust. The moment she realized she wasn't surviving anymore, she was living. She thought about Dancer, about Soldier, about the ranch that was theirs, about the baby growing inside her, about the man whose arms held her safe. Eli. "Yeah. Thank you for choosing me." His arms tightened around her. "Thank you for being worth choosing." They sat like that until the fire burned low, until the snow stopped falling, until the world outside was silent and white and new. And in the morning, they'd wake up and feed the animals. They'd train the horses. They'd live the life they'd built from nothing, from cruelty and chance and one man's decision to see past what everyone else saw. But for now, they simply held each other. Two people who'd been broken by the world and healed by each other. Two hearts that had learned to beat in rhythm. Two souls that had found home, not in a place, but in a person. The girl they mocked had become a woman they respected. The cowboy they called heartless had become a husband who loved with everything he had. And together they'd proven that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best lives. That dignity isn't given, it's claimed. That worth isn't determined by others, it's decided by yourself. That love isn't found in perfection. It's built in patience, tested in hardship, and proven in the small, quiet moments when two people choose each other over and over again. Maddie Brennan Stone had stood in a square and been chosen when no one else would have her. And in that choosing, she'd found not just a husband, but a partner. Not just a home, but a purpose. Not just survival, but joy. She'd found herself. And that more than anything was worth every cruel word, every mocking laugh, every moment of pain that had led her here. To this cabin. This man. This life. Home.